even to remember for himself the events that had led him to this somnolent afternoon. It was only 5 weeks since his unit, part of the 2nd Panzer Division of Army Group A, had plunged into the Ardennes forest and begun the long-awaited invasion of France, fighting their way to and finally across the Meuse River. There had been fierce battles at the start, and the French tanks, the Sommois S-35, the Renault R-35, and especially the fearsome Char B-1 with its 47mm turret gun and 75mm howitzer in the hull, were formidable adversaries. But their tactics proved no match for the combined arms striking power of the German forces. Albrecht smiled, recollecting how time and again close radio contact within the division's other units had led them around dug-in and immobile French positions, and allowed them to exploit uncoordinated French tactical initiatives. His highly mobile panzer unit took full advantage, pouncing on French formations to inflict damage, then glancing away, around and behind, sowing confusion and panic. After the breakthrough, the division commander had ordered their panzers into a Flaschenmarsch, a formation they had rehearsed many times for just this kind of warfare. It comprised a roughly 1,500-meter front line and a mile in depth, moving as a single powerful block, a juggernaut that swept aside everything in its path. The advance went straight across country, over unplowed fields, and through scattered villages, felling hedges and fences, crossing irrigation ditches, uphill and downhill. It didn't matter. They just kept moving. They encountered almost no enemy troops, except stragglers who put up no resistance, and whom they came largely to ignore. Crossing roadways, they would find themselves advancing through throngs of refugees, old men, women and children, all fleeing, on foot or with wagons, some pulled by livestock, all burdened by the belongings they were carrying. They were terrified, of course, shrinking into ditches or huddling together to avoid the machines. His men had yelled at them to go home, and threw some of them bits of food as they roared along, waving happily at the occasional pretty girls who seemed to slide still deeper into their terror. They had crossed the Seine somewhere southeast of Paris, the bridges very conveniently still standing, and they'd cheered lustily as they left that famous waterway behind. Division finally called a halt while they regrouped and reorganized for the lunge south toward the Loire Valley and east into the Cotentin Peninsula and Cherbourg. The only real constraints on the advance had been wear and tear on the vehicles, but mobile workshops provided support, manned by mechanics who had become skilled at finding ways to repair treads, fix bulky engines, and lubricate moving parts. Few of the panzers could any longer reach their 30 miles per hour factory-rated speeds, but they could keep moving over long distances and eat up territory. After the pause to refit, Division had ordered them to change tactics and align themselves into multiple columns aimed at different destinations along the Loire River. They were to search for bridges that remained intact which could be secured and used to cross over to the south bank of the river. They'd learned by radio that a column off to the west on their right flank had entered Orléans, found it abandoned, and had captured a railroad bridge that French sappers had waited too long to blow. More troubling was word of heavy fighting still further west at Saumur, where French forces had made a determined stand. But Albrecht continued to muse. His column's journey had been uneventful. They'd reached the banks of the Loire, and as ordered, turned east, following the river's topography. They passed through small towns and villages along the riverbank. Most had bridges, and all of those had been blown by retreating French forces. But he shrugged. He was confident that German engineers could rapidly rig repairs that would put the bridges back to work soon. One thing that did concern him was the seemingly never-ending stream of French civilian refugees that flooded the roadway and impeded their progress. They were a sorry, shambling lot, mainly walking or limping slowly, often barely inching along, as people fell, belongings spilled, carts collapsed, or some other hardship interfered with their progress. The road, like seemingly every roadway in France,